Welcome to How We Heard It, the podcast about music, pop culture, movies, and more, with your hosts Wayne Bledsoe and Chuck Campbell.
Namaste. This is Chuck Campbell with
Wayne Bledsoe, and
I'm John Baker.
Okay. So Wayne, our job as critics was to find and discover music and introduce it to our readers.
Right.
You know, and it was like introduce them to everything and also evaluate. But we were constantly doing that. But my friend Ray in Orlando suggested that we do, as a topic, we do music that we ourselves took some time to get used to and appreciate.
okay, yeah.
So bands and acts and all that. How would you... We had a preliminary discussion here. We
Right.
kind of went two paths, and then John joined us, and it's like he may be on his own path as well. But hey, you know, whatever. It's all subjective. So there's no wrong
That's
answer.
all the lubrication for this podcast.
That's right. That's right.
That's what this stuff is.
Yeah, we had kind of a preliminary talk. A lot of times we just sit down and start talking. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, we don't know what we're talking about.
Literally happened last time.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yes. Well, it was my fault again.
I'm not pointing fingers.
Used the wrong road.
It turned out just fine.
Yeah. Well,
We earned a listener from Wyoming.
yes, we did. We can no longer slag on Wyoming for no one actually living there because I checked our stats this morning. The first listener we got was from Wyoming.
We just need to say howdy.
Howdy. Howdy, Wyoming. Welcome.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. So, Wayne, tell me your thoughts on this.
Well, I took this in a couple of different paths. The first path is a couple of people, maybe three, that became favorites that I didn't really get right off the bat. Mm-hmm. And then there's at least one where it was like, I liked them to begin with, then they got really popular, and I was overplayed, and it was like, man, I'm so sick of these guys, and then I came back.
But you were like 6 years old thinking about this, right?
Well, one of the acts, the Beach Boys,
Yeah.
I liked them as a little kid, okay, but we have to talk about this because I was listening to music as long as I can remember.
Right.
Me
I
too.
was memorizing music as long as I can remember.
Right.
I mean, when I was 3 years old, I was singing, I won't go hunting with you, Jake, but I'll go chasing women.
3 years
At
old.
3 years old, so I got the
Lecherous
nickname.
3-year-old.
Yeah, it was a weird thing to be singing, and that's why my family thought it was so funny. But, I listened to Elvis, and I listened to everything when I was a little kid. But sometimes it was way later, like with the Beach Boys in particular, like I liked all that stuff okay, but I didn't really get it until I was in my 30s or 40s.
Oh, okay.
I liked, California Girls, Good Vibrations. I mean, of course those are great songs, but I
Right.
didn't get their importance and how good they really were until I got this box set called Good Vibrations. And I heard, like, the Smile Sessions, and I had never heard Pet Sounds start to finish. And then I got it. It's like, this is why this is not just, kind of okay music, but it's really important.
Well, and I think that speaks to the appeal of the Beach Boys, because my experience was similar. I remember singing, Barbara Ann and, all the surfing songs and the drag racing songs and all of that stuff when I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
And me and my friend got into that but then, that's just like kid stuff.
Yeah, you think it's a little lightweight.
And then it wasn't until I was well into my 20s. And I remember hearing our mutual friend Todd Steed say, "Oh man, he made me a tape. Here's some Beach Boys," and it had a whole bunch of just fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
And I began to look into the amazing composer that Brian Wilson was, and how he could only hear in one ear, didn't have any musical training, and could just hear 4-part harmonies in his brain.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Yeah, and then when you dig into it, and I mean the lyricists he used, he didn't write his own lyrics, but it's like, these were smart lyrics, and they were trying to interpret what he was telling them.
So are you telling me that their best material wasn't commercially successful, or that you just hadn't listened to their commercially successful songs?
Well, I'd say Good Vibrations was probably one of their most commercially successful.
Yeah,
and if
for
you
sure.
really listen to it with a critical ear, It's an amazing piece of modular art. I mean, it was recorded at 6 or 7 different studios and just all knitted together. And when you really analyze it, it's got like 5 or 6 different movements, different sections to the song, and all in 3 minutes, 50 seconds. You know, it's like a mini symphony or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, to me, it's like and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of crappy Beach Boys music out there. There really is. I mean, they did some really lousy stuff, especially when Brian wasn't involved. I mean,
Was this like on and off, or did they just get better as they went along, or?
well, see, they got better up to Smile, which didn't come out. They released Smiley Smile, which did wind up with Good Vibrations on it, but it was like a pale...
How long had they been around at that point?
well, that was 1967.
Okay.
So they started in 62, I think.
Probably.
I think 62 is when Surfing came out. And, you know, like I said, they just seemed lightweight. But we listened to, you know, the song California Girls, which I liked when I was a kid. But when you turn it up and you listen to it, it's just like, it's like a sunset or something. It's so pretty. They put
Is
all
it the layers? I mean, is it the...
Yeah.
the layers and the melodies and just all the components in what they did up to that point. I mean, they got better, but they peak at Pet Sounds and they peak at Good Vibrations.
Yeah.
And then there's good stuff after that here and there, but
Brian was kind of an acid casualty. I mean, he had some psychological problems too, and this was the height of '67, and everyone was telling Brian that he was a genius, and they were dosing him with LSD without even letting him know. I mean, he didn't know reality from, you know, and that's when he disintegrated. And the Smile album, the idea of it was that it was going to be a concept album about music and humor and sounds, and I mean, he just was more and more out there, and they'd be sitting at the dinner table and someone would hit a plate with the fork and he'd go, wait, and he'd go get a mic and say, go ahead, do it again, and record the sounds of dishes and stuff. And it's crazy. I mean, there's some of the stuff he recorded for Smile is just out there. It's like the man who got stuck in his horn, and
and there's also the fire sequence where they recorded it, and he decided that they were starting fires. The music was starting fires.
he had everyone in the band had a fireman's hat on, and
Wow.
I mean, they had a full orchestra.
Yeah.
And all of them had fire hats on, and then he found out that there were wildfires, and he shut it all down because he was afraid he was doing it.
Must have been very hard to work with.
Well, but the people in the studio loved
They
it.
just devoted to
They
him? or-
loved him. Because he was creating such great stuff, and they could tell he was a visionary, and he respected them and let them do their work. So no, they loved him.
Okay.
But it's one of those things where you have to listen closer than just, oh, this is pretty.
Well, I'll admit that I know that I've noticed, you know, a lot of, I mean, I like the Beach Boys because I like harmonies.
Right.
You know? So, of course, that's been my surface reaction. It's like, wow, what great harmonies. You know, one of the best harmonies in any group ever. But I've noticed there are a lot of, like, reputable critics and all who really sing the praises of the Beach Boys. And I guess that always struck me as, like, are they really complicated enough for you? So my reaction was what you were saying yours was, both of you, you know, before you sat down and listened to them more thoroughly.
So much of it seems so lightweight, you know, all these songs about surfing and all the other stuff. But then you get up to the album Summer Days and Summer Nights, and it's like, this has got more to it than I thought. And then you get to Pet Sounds, and it's just a really emotional, beautiful concept album that's just like, you can't get over it. I mean, some people don't get it, and I understand that, because it took a couple listens, and then it just hits you.
Well, and people don't understand that in that 64 to 67 period, the Beach Boys and the Beatles were in constant competition with each other. And the Beatles are revered, obviously. I mean, everybody thinks they're geniuses, and they were.
Right.
But it was a competition, but they were one-upping each other. And, like, you know, Summer Days and Summer Nights came out, and Paul McCartney was like, wow, we got to do something. And so they did Rubber Soul, and the Beach Boys heard that, and they thought, oh, my God, we got to do this. And they did Pet Sounds, and then Beatles were like, oh, my God, how are we going to do that? And they came up with Sgt. Pepper. And, you know, they just were constantly doing that to each other.
How many of the ones in the Beach Boys were doing all the creating? Was it
Mostly Brian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
So
Carl
it
Wilson...
wasn't as democratic as the Beatles.
No, it was totally, everything was Brian Wilson's vision. I mean, Dennis wrote a few songs. Carl, like, basically Brian would use everybody's voices to do things. He would Carl would be his main go-to.
Yeah, an angelic voice.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I mean, when you hear him do his version of Surf's Up, his vocals on Surf's Up, I mean, it's gorgeous. But, they could all sound similar.
Okay.
And they would all, just the brothers and Mike Love and, the Beach Boys, without all the side players, they would constantly in the studio just start chants and just sing harmonies with each other that just repeated and repeated and repeated. Wow. And so they just melded their harmony singing so well that it's seamless.
We're going to have a hard time topping the Beach Boys, I think, when we have to follow up on this subject. But
it's interesting because I think what Wayne and I are both saying is that the early Beach Boys stuff, it's like the early Beatles stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's still good. It's simple, and it's appealed to teenagers, and that's what it was designed to do. Right. But both bands got better and better and better and really changed. And by the time of Pet Sounds and Smile, and they were a mature... I mean, and the album, the whole idea of an album had been elevated to a piece of art. Yeah. I mean, prior to Sgt. Pepper, albums were just collections of songs put together. Yeah. And the Beatles and the Beach Boys envisioned this pop art as being a whole big piece of art. And
the big thing is that Brian Wilson had a crisis of confidence.
Right.
He'd done all those drugs. And as he told me, when I asked him if, do you regret anything? He says, I wish I hadn't done all those drugs. They really kind of messed my mind up. Yeah. And they partly did. Part of that was also that he was trying to create something really different and expand, and Mike Love was saying, don't F with the formula.
Right. Yeah. That's what Mike Love was the villain.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people see him as the total villain.
I've heard that, and I never knew why. So
Well, and it got kind of to a crisis stage when Brian flipped out on an airplane and had a panic attack, and he had to go home, and they got Glenn Campbell to go out and play his parts out on the road, and so that became the working model. Brian would stay home and write and be a genius and compose, and the band would go out on tour and play Barbara Ann and California Dreamin', not California Dreamin', but anyway, all the surfing songs.
Yeah.
And then
California Girls.
Yeah, that's it. And then they'd get back home, and Brian had teamed up with these writers and this orchestra, and they were like, what the hell is this? Yeah. And because he had a crisis of conscience, when Mike Love came back and said, man, what are you doing? Brian was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'll stop.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he was working with Van Dyke Parks on lyrics, and Mike Love couldn't understand the lyrics, and the lyrics weren't meant to mean anything concrete. It was supposed to evoke a mood.
Yeah. And Mike Love did not understand that.
No. But
all right, let's move on.
Okay.
Let's move on to
we've talked about them a lot.
Yeah. I don't want to say anything now because it just seems completely meaningless.
Why?
No, but, you're further back anyway. So what's another?
Well, the other one, and we don't have to spend that long on this.
Right.
But the other one was, it was like so many people when they first heard Bob Dylan. I was a kid when I first heard Bob Dylan.
Right.
I thought, man, I love these songs, but I can't stand his voice. And then about 72, when I was 12, and Blood on the Tracks came out, and they started playing Tangled Up in Blue on the radio, it was like, oh, man, I like his voice.
Okay.
And then I went back.
Okay.
Yeah,
I never learned to like his voice.
I think he's got a great voice now. I do, because it fits his stuff. Nobody else quite has that sneer that he has. Yeah. He's kind of snarly and...
Okay.
Well, yeah, in that prime period, there's several albums in there that I just think are fantastic and are perfect just like they are, even though he's not, strictly speaking a great singer. He delivers the vocal parts so well and so perfectly that Blood on the Tracks being one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Highway 61 Revisited is fantastic. Blonde on Blonde is amazing.
And Bringing It All Back Home. Those three, those three best albums by any one artist that, just consecutively, I think, of anybody, even the Beatles.
I think the Stones could match that. From Beggar's Banquet,
Let
Sticky
It Bleed.
Yeah. That whole...
maybe.
But your reluctance was Bob Dylan's voice.
Yeah. And
did you know other people who did like his voice before you decided you liked his voice? I mean, were there other people saying give it more of a chance? Or
Well,
I'm just trying to figure out if you were just rejecting him out of hand.
Oh, my sister had a greatest hits album.
Okay.
The first
your
Bob
sister,
Dylan's.
very influential in
Very
your
influential.
early music taste.
but she had Bob Dylan's Greatest Hits, and so I would try to understand what people were getting out of his voice.
Right.
I mean, I had like Peter
So
Paul
she liked
and Mary.
it okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I had Peter, Paul, and Mary doing his songs, and all the different people, the Byrds. So that's most people's introduction to Bob Dylan, was hearing somebody else do his songs.
Right.
And I get it. That's the same way I was. But then when it clicks, it's the same way with there's a band, Moth the Hoople, that I love, and my friend Tim Lee, we bonded over that. He was from Mississippi, and I'm from here. But first time I heard Moth the Hoople on the Midnight Special, I thought, man, I love this song, but I hate that vocalist.
Yeah.
And about
What were
three,
they known for? Their
All the Way
songs?
from Memphis is like their big hit.
Or All the Young Dudes.
We're all the young dudes that David Bowie
wrote that one.
helped. And helped sing it with them and produce.
And later, it's Ian Hunter.
I know, and that's who I
And
follow.
the later, like these last couple of Ian Hunter solo records, his voice is like a broken-in catcher's mitt. It just feels right.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. Is like after a little bit, I got so that I loved his voice, and I followed his solo career after Moth the Hoople broke up or he left him.
Well, when you became a music writer and your job was to have to do this, were you still going back and revisiting things from the past? I mean,
Always.
You would sometimes write about older things, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you would do like, I don't know, like a box set about the Beach Boys or something like that. You would review that stuff. So you were, I think part of your job that might have been different from mine is that you were encouraged and invited to go back and re-explore and dig out artists that had been
For
overlooked.
Sure. And it's funny because, when we would talk about stuff like that, I mean, we worked really well as a team because you were always just, what's the newest thing? What's the
Now
hottest
and
thing?
future. That's my only
Right.
reference points were what's happening now and what are we expecting to happen in the future. I didn't go back.
Right. And I was always, this band sounds a little bit like this and this and this, or they're covering this song by this artist, and I've never really listened to this artist, and I'd go back and listen to that artist.
And you would explore that, though, with your
Right.
writing and such. And, for
Right.
me, it was just it's like if you were a heart surgeon and you did heart surgery and your pastime is a hobby. It's like, I'm doing this all the time. The last thing I want to do is just explore new things that I'm not even going to write about. It's
We're
like,
not
no.
being paid to do this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not being paid to do this.
But you had a totally different take on it.
Right.
Because,
For
I mean,
sure.
you that was the thing is you wanted to be contemporary about all this stuff, and, you had to cover what was the freshest thing
Right.
out there. And
Yeah,
I
if a new
didn't have
boy
to do
band
that.
came out, you just threw it away.
Right.
You didn't have to listen to that or
Exactly.
whatever.
And I will say that once I had to review concerts by boy bands, because I hated boy bands. I
Yeah.
thought, this is awful. And once I had to actually review their shows, I got an appreciation for them. I'm not going to listen to them. I didn't listen
Well,
to
they
them
put
then.
in the work. The ones that were successful put in the work.
They
and-
actually sang.
Yeah. And they sang.
Yeah.
They had to harmonize. They all had to be able to sing.
And it wasn't tapes.
And dance.
Yeah. And dance.
And it was like, because I was reviewing, you would review the albums and I'd review the concerts.
Right.
So when you reviewed the boy bands and
Backstreet
Britney
Boys.
Spears,
Yeah.
it was like,
She didn't even have to sing. But she had to dance.
yeah. Well, she didn't sing. When you see her in
No.
concert,
No.
the entire
We
thing
beat
was a
up on
tape.
her enough on that.
But
you're right.
I'm just saying that some of the kind of diva types, they weren't singing, and the boy bands were.
Oh, I see what you mean. Right.
So I got an appreciation for the people who actually were up there and singing the songs, and got even less appreciation for the ones who didn't.
Well, while we're still way back, do you have any other like 60s or 50s or whatever?
Well, Tony
I don't
Bennett
go back
is one.
far at all, but go ahead.
I can remember we all at that age joined the Columbia Record Club because
Yeah.
you could get 12
I did
albums
not.
for $1.
Go ahead, explain what that was for people who don't know. It was like,
You sent them $1, and that you would get 12 albums, or however many the special
picked
was.
the titles.
You picked all those albums, and then you were obligated by like 8 more albums in the next 3 years.
what was the price of the new album? I mean, was
It was more than was in the store, but not that much more.
Okay.
It wasn't too bad. And you had to fill out a card so they didn't automatically send you the featured album.
Did they have a good selection?
Yeah, it was a real good selection.
Okay.
Those Columbia Records.
Yeah, it was everything on Columbia and all their subsidiaries.
Okay.
But my sister, one of the times she joined, because you joined over and over. You're only supposed to join once, but everybody would, okay, we'll change her name a little bit. and she got this pack of like albums with like 3 Tony Bennett albums, and I thought she'd lost her mind because this is the person whose like opinion on music I was always looking at, and like
Here she is with 3 Tony Bennett.
with a crooner.
yeah, and it's like, what the hell happened to you? You know, you were the hippest kid in the world, and then like 10 years later, I'm listening to Tony Bennett, and he's great. I love him. But
it took 10 years though from the time she had it to okay.
Absolutely.
So what piqued your interest in him all of a sudden? Was it a best of collection or something that landed on your desk? Because you were much more likely to get something like that and follow up on it.
You know, I think I can't remember. I think I saw him on something and realized what a good vocalist he was.
Okay.
And then, then it suddenly he started becoming hip. I mean, I was listening to him a couple years before he like had his big breakthrough on MTV. But it was like, okay. I started, and I will say I listened to Ringo Starr's Sentimental Journey album, which got me listening to classic pop from the 50s and 40s because that was all covers of those songs. So I knew some of Tony Bennett's songs, but then I just started getting an appreciation for what a great voice he has and what a great singer he is. But yeah, so there's Tony Bennett, and then the other one from that era that I will say for sure is the Carpenters, which I hated with my every ounce of my being. And I have so many good memories from a friend who loved them.
They were more 70s, right?
70s, yeah. Okay. They were the 70s. And then as the years have gone by, I didn't believe Karen Carpenter's voice. You know, it just didn't seem sincere to me. It was pretty.
Yeah.
She's a great singer, but I didn't believe it. And as the years have gone by, I've like begun to appreciate that,
I feel like there's pain in it that's not really acknowledged, even by her.
I do now.
I do believe that it's a beautiful voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't think it was sincere when I was a teenager.
Right.
I mean, it was
much of
you're
that
leading up to my point. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, so much of it sounds so like treacly. I mean, it's just like almost like Muzak.
Yeah, it's too sweet.
Yeah.
But then, as the years have gone on, and I've listened back, it's like, no, this is pretty damn good.
Right.
I still don't generally pull out a Carpenter's album, even though I do have them.
Right.
But I don't turn them off when they come on the radio anymore. And every once in a while, I'll pull out a song that I like.
What radio station are they playing?
It's been a while. I don't know.
Are there radio stations anymore?
Yeah, no.
There are some on my...
You have to hand crank them up.
There's some on satellite radio that play music, but I'm usually up in comedy and news and sports anyway. So,
well, how about you now? Because those are my oldie ones.
Right. Well, so I was a weirdo, and that's what I was explaining to you early, and why I even have a problem with this subject. As a kid, I didn't identify with music made by adults. It was always on, and it was always in the background, and I liked some songs, but I wasn't trying to... I don't know how to explain it, except that, it didn't seem like it was my business, and it didn't seem like it affected me. And when, adults were singing about relationships, and I was 10 years old, I didn't care about their freaking relationships, It's just like I didn't connect to it. It's like, whatever, it's just like... So I was just listening for, the beat. It's got a good beat, and you can dance to it or whatever, but I didn't...
Well, you didn't dance either.
No. Well, kid dance.
Okay, all right.
But I just didn't seem, not that it was inappropriate, but I didn't connect to it. And when I was a kid, I wasn't just anxious to be an adult. I wasn't looking on stages for people to model myself after, and I didn't want to, like I say, when they're just singing about getting high and sleeping around and stuff like that, and I'm 12 or whatever, it's like, why that doesn't, I don't care about that, But so when I got older, there were some bands in the 70s that I liked some of their songs, but again, I had this disconnect. But when they swang back around in the 80s and they would have popularity, I would adopt some of them. So like Fleetwood Mac, it's like there were Fleetwood Mac songs that I knew were good in the 70s, but it wasn't until 82. I guess all these bands that I finally took up with, it was in the 80s when I finally thought, oh, these are pretty cool bands. And with Fleetwood Mac, it was 82 with Hold Me and Gypsy.
And this is before you started writing about music. This is
I'm still in school,
You're in
but
high school.
I'm older.
We're the same age.
But then there was ELO, and again, I knew there were ELO songs, and this was earlier but the "Don't Bring Me Down."
Yeah.
It was like I think I could connect with that. So when I started getting into my teens and moving through my teens, and then they did that song with Olivia Newton-John for Xanadu. Hall & Oates, same thing. I knew they were out there. I knew they had songs, but I didn't listen to them. I don't know. I just like, this doesn't really matter to me when I was younger. But then I got older, and was in school. And
I got a question though, Chuck. When
What?
you were a little kid, did you not like music? Were you not?
I did like music, but I didn't. I never wanted to be a musician. I never wanted to be a singer. I didn't. Their things was kind of like, it was like reading a book. It's like,
You didn't connect with it emotionally, though.
No. I wasn't
that's the
connecting
thing-
with it. I would have connected with the music emotionally. And then sometimes if there were really plaintive lyrics or something like that, I would connect with emotionally. But just the party songs and stuff, it's like, well, this is for them to smoke weed and have sex to. I'm going to go roller skating now or something like that. You know?
but you can't roller skate without music.
No. But I think I just had a different, I didn't have a need to know much more about them.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I never felt like I had
I
a
know.
choice.
Well, I knew this
It was like I just felt music, and it was there, and I knew it, and it was just part of. It's like the fluid of.
I was
Same
curious
here.
about the people who were behind the music, and then I realized that I had nothing in common with them. and I didn't want to have anything in common with
And
them.
then you find ABBA.
And then I found ABBA, So it was like
You have so much in common
And
with
well,
ABBA.
the thing with ABBA is like they were from another planet. I mean, they weren't like anything else you would hear here. They were from Sweden, and they just had this whole exotic everything. And
Did the four members of ABBA actually play instruments?
the men certainly did. They were accomplished musicians.
Okay,
and they
I didn't
did-
know that.
I
don't know much about ABBA.
Absolutely, they played guitar, piano. I think then there was the funny one. I think is Rick Springfield. I remembered his songs. I remembered like Jesse's Girl, and I've Done Everything for You, and all that stuff. And then I remember, and I knew there was a Bruce Springsteen out there, but I didn't know anything about him. And I didn't remember Hungry Heart. I know this sounds weird, but I didn't remember Hungry Heart. But then in 1984, Rick Springfield did a song called Bruce. And it's a joke song about how people keep mistaking him for Bruce Springsteen. And right after that, Bruce Springsteen released Born in the USA. And it was almost like, and I never knew Rick Springfield again because, I don't know, it's just like he set the transition into motion.
Yeah.
And then in 84, Born in the USA and all the Bruce Springsteen, I appreciated it. And it felt like, even though he was an older guy and all that stuff, he felt like, one of mine and someone I could relate
It's
to.
so funny because one of mine was going to be Bruce Springsteen, and mainly that I didn't like him in the 80s because he was just everywhere. And everybody I knew that loved Bruce Springsteen, Bruce! There were these big backward hat frat bros, and I'm just like, man, I don't like these. All he does is yell. And it wasn't until much later that I came to appreciate Bruce Springsteen.
See, I got Born to Run when all the big hubbub came up about it. I think it came out in 75. And I was 15, and it was like, man, this is great. I loved it.
I remember people, were saying, best Springsteen was in the 70s. Like, well, he didn't exist to me as a real person yet.
I was aware that there was a Bruce
I knew there was
Springsteen
a
out
Bruce
there, and then
Springsteen.
when Born in the USA came, I was like, oh, no, I don't want any part of that.
Well, here's a song that, and I don't know why, and I can't explain it, and maybe you guys, but a song from the 70s by a dude that I just liked, and I can't explain it, but it's Lido Shuffle by Boz Scaggs.
Yeah.
Nothing else of his. I didn't know that Lowdown was him and that it was a bigger hit than Lido Shuffle.
But that was Lido, I think, was like the breakthrough, the big one that everybody got.
Well, I felt nothing for that one, But Lido Lido Shuffle, it was like, why did I like this? So I listened to it again. It's like he's telling a story.
Yeah.
He has a really cool way of singing. The way he enunciates the vowel sounds and all that. And there's this building momentum in that song. And then it was the theme of the song. And I don't know. I think my whole childhood I was preparing to be an adult. I didn't want to be one too soon. But I was trying to think, I told you that Lana Del Rey lyric. I thought, oh my God, I understand
Well,
that.
tell because we were talking about before this.
Yeah,
Say what
so
that
in
lyric
Born
was.
to Die, she's talking about, life and how meaningful or meaningless it was. And she said that she was so confused as a little child, scared I couldn't find all the answers I need. She was trying to figure out how to become an adult, you know, and I think I was just studying life and what it means to be an adult. And Lido Shuffle, I think it's actually just about being a musician on the road and trying to make it. It's just about taking chances and how you have to gamble. You know, it sounds like it might be a gangster or something like that. Got one more job, or he quit it. But I just like that song out of nowhere. You know, in '77, there was this one song that popped up by just one of the dudes, and I did relate to it. And then I moved back on to like ABBA or whatever.
So you're actually tying yourself back to the '60s because he started out in the Steve Miller Band.
Well, yeah, and I found out that the band Toto is mainly his backing group for Lido Shuffle.
Probably so.
Yeah, those were all session guys.
Yeah.
Well, surprise to me. One thing I want to say, though, while we're way back in time and everything, and something that occurred to me in all this experiment is that, excuse me, Kate Bush.
Right.
The first time you heard Kate Bush was Wuthering Heights, right?
Yep.
The first time I heard Kate Bush was The Man with the Child in His Eyes. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you remember that song, but it was the complete opposite of Wuthering Heights because she was singing in a very steady tone. It was a very romantic song. It's just piano, and it's about... She wrote it like when she was 13, and she didn't record it till like 17 or whatever, but it was on her first album, and it was just a very simple... you know, heart on her sleeve song about being this girl who envisions an idealized man or person. I don't know. I just felt connected to that, you know, like her future depends on it. And people are telling her that this guy doesn't exist and they're trying to take away basically her dream for some kind of idealized relationship. And The Man with the Child in His Eyes is just, you know, looking into someone's eyes. And it's just such a subtle, beautiful song. And if I had heard Wuthering Heights first, I'm not sure I would have jumped in on her.
Oh, that's
because I
interesting.
bought that album based on that song, which was just, like I say, the complete opposite. You might want to listen to it again just so you can see. That's what caught me, you know, and it caught me at a time when I was kind of at the age she was, because, you know, I didn't get it till years later, and she recorded it later. And it identified with me as where I was in my brain and my time at that point. And Wuthering Heights wouldn't have.
How old were you at this point?
I don't know. I don't remember when I actually heard it on the radio. It wasn't a big hit at all. Yeah. But I'm sure I heard it on the radio, and I found it, and then I just came across the album maybe a couple of years later. I thought, oh, that's that girl. And I always remembered the name of the song. And I bought the album. Wuthering Heights was on there, and that's the first time I heard that. Right. But if that had been my entry point to her, and Wuthering Heights had been my entry to her, then I think the drama and all that probably would have been put me off too. And that's why it always frustrates me whenever I say, you know, Kate Bush, oh, she sings so high. It's like, well, it's just that one song. She was trying to be a ghost from a novel.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, my best friend Daryl he loved Kate Bush. Still, I'm sure he probably still does. But I think the first time I heard her it may have been MTV. It was something on TV. I know it was because they weren't playing her on the radio. And that voice just put me off. Daryl and I usually agreed on stuff. He introduced me to a lot of stuff. He actually introduced me to Peter Gabriel. But
I know.
I never came around to her.
I just wondered what would have happened even if, you know, you had come into Man with the Child in His Eyes first, and then I came into Wuthering Heights, you know. But anyway.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, I can see that because I love Warren Zevon. If I heard Werewolves of London first rather than Excitable Boy, I don't know that I would have liked him as much.
I agree with that 100%. My older sister, again, a big influence on my music, bought that album, and the song Excitable Boy, I just remember thinking, this is a whacked out song.
I heard it on the radio, and I went to the record store and bought it.
I mean,
wow.
Yeah.
I mean, do you know that song, Excitable Boy?
No.
I mean, and it's just about this guy, this boy that...
A psychopath.
He's a psychopath. He takes his date to the prom and rapes her and killed her and takes her home. Wow. And then after 10 long years, they let him out of the home, and he dug her up and built a cage out of her bones.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it's out there.
Yeah, it's dark, and it's also kind of funny, but it's like, Yeah, I mean, Werewolves of London is fun and funny and everything, but I don't know if I would have liked him as much if that's what I'd heard first.
Right.
Well, I did hear Werewolves of London first, and I liked it. And I heard Excitable Boy, but it wasn't until a long time later that I appreciated Warren Zevon's dark, ironic sense of humor.
Oh, I got it immediately.
See, that took me a while,
Yeah.
Well,
which is the theme of this.
yeah, it took you a while. Well, it took me a while with Prince.
Really?
I liked I Want to Be Your Lover, but that seemed like a novelty act to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't think, oh, this is an artist that's amazing. And it's like, oh, cool, he's something different. And I knew of 1999 and I guess Little Red Corvette, a couple of years later. But it was in 1984, which is 5 years after I Want to Be Your Lover. And I was at the beach. And When Doves Cry was a hit. It was in the summer. And I was swimming in the ocean, and just that rhythm, that opening rhythm. And that was the thing about Prince. It wasn't just his vocals. It was like all the pieces of the song that come together. And he was especially focused on the rhythm section and everything. And just that. And he has this you got these kind of odd drums at the beginning, syncopated, I guess. And then he does this, yeah, kind of vocal over it. And that got stuck in my head, and I was like diving under all these waves, and I must have been in the ocean for like 2 hours. Like, that's pretty amazing. And then right after that, Raspberry Beret, Pop Life, Kiss, all that stuff came out. And he was at his peak. So I think with Prince, it took a little while, and this is probably more the way I am, is that it takes artists, if it takes them a little while to build up to their peak, then I don't catch on until they're closer to their peak.
Well, what's funny with Prince is like, I heard I Want to Be Your Lover too. And it was like, oh man, this is such a good song. And I went out to buy it. And I think I've told the story. And then I was like, I picked it up and he's got all that makeup on. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. And then I flip it over and he's naked on the back of Pegasus. And I imagine going through the checkout aisle, with that album.
Can't face the store clerk
It's
with
like,
this.
she's going to flip this over.
You have to wait till it looks like a sympathetic store clerk,
So I bought a Merle Haggard album instead.
Oh my God. That's extreme.
I love Merle Haggard too. But I had heard, after that, I was at a party and somebody played the album Dirty Mind. It's like, man, this is good.
Yeah.
And then
Controversy. I remember being aware of that one.
My friend Russ had Controversy, and we all listened to that while we were cleaning up McDonald's. And then I heard
I can't picture Russ listening to Prince.
Russ loved Prince. He went to the show. I mean, he was like, we were all envious because he went to the Prince concert that was here with Vanity Six and The Time. And it was
Vanity Six.
I know. But so anyway, I hear Little Red Corvette on the radio, and it's the same thing with like the Warren Zevon thing. It's like, I got to go out and get this. Yeah. This is the best single I've heard in I don't know how long.
Which song was it?
Little Red Corvette.
Little Red Corvette, yeah.
And I mean, it's like, okay, I liked him, but man, now it's like I love him.
For me, it was Purple Rain.
Well,
that was. I
mean,
When Doves Cry was on Purple Rain.
Yeah, every song on that thing was fantastic.
Yeah,
and I remember thinking, this is more than just a glitzy MTV funk artist. This is there's some meat on those bones.
Yeah. Well, when the movie came out, we were already all in on Prince, on everything.
Yeah, for sure. And like I say, I can't remember it, but the Raspberry Beret album with Pop Life and all that, and Sign of the Times, which is really great, and even up to like '88, Alphabet Street, and I think Get Off in '91. That was kind of the last great song. Yeah. And he went on for a long time after that, where he was good, but he had peaked. Yeah, and so.
And I think he recorded pretty much every note he ever played too. And there's a whole bunch of Prince stuff out there.
There's an archive.
I don't know if we'll ever hear.
Yeah.
Another one I'd talk about briefly is Depeche Mode.
Right.
And their first album was so gawky to me. It was like, and they had the People Are People and Master and Servant. And I think what got into my mind is my friend Robert, who is a very funny psychopath. He would just latch on to something, and he knew their name was Depeche Mode, but he would call them Depeche Mode on purpose. And he would just, out of the blue, if they were playing, he would just become this insane Depeche Mode fan. He'd go, Depeche Mode! Depeche Mode! So that turned me off, but in 1988, when I heard "Never Let Me Down Again," they won me over then. And Dave Gahan, the lead singer, they just got grit in their sound and depth, and what they had been before. He was doing like little dances and kind of being cover boy, and they just flipped, and it was like their albums. And I reviewed Violator, but Music for the Masses and Violator, they came out with Never Let Me Down Again, Personal Jesus, Enjoy the Silence. I mean, they were just like on top of their game. But that first album, and it may have been partly Robert's fault, I was just like, this is too poppy for me.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
No, I was just going to say, on my mix, when I was listening, driving to here on the way, a Depeche Mode song came up.
Knew.
And I never listened to Depeche Mode because I'm a guitar player and they're all synths and drum machines. And it was just like, no, I don't want any part of this. But that Policy of Truth song came
Policy of Truth, yeah.
on the drive back here. And I was like, this has got some really cool sounds in it. And so I was looking back through that's why it played, because I was trying to find out what album that came off of, because you were mentioning albums.
And they did incorporate more guitars. They weren't just the synthy pop stuff they were in that first album, which wasn't bad stuff, but Robert,
Well, another band that I think, and I just talked about them last week or the week before, that I grew to love them so much more later in their career because they developed so much, is the band Talk Talk.
Okay.
And their first album was synth pop, funk synth pop, and they did, reasonably well at it. But there was a whole bunch of bands that did that very same thing.
Right.
And, but then they did like 2 albums of sort of cheesy synth pop, and then they put out an album called The Color of Spring. And they made a conscious decision not to use synthesizers, and they used all acoustic. There were electric instruments too, but it was all wasn't processed at all. It was like really clear, and everything was really clean. And that and that album still had pop sensibility, and it had hooks and all that kind of thing. Then the album that came out after that is called The Spirit of Eden, and by then the 2 songwriters, Mark Hollis and Tim Freese Green, had kind of taken over, and they have a real I don't know how to say. But they they're really patient with their song development, and it's real kind of glacial. It builds glacially into. There's still some funk grooves in there, but it's like real relaxed and almost meditative. And then the next one after that, I'll think of the name in a minute, but it is seriously like trance music, not dance trance music, but just like you can meditate to it. And their stuff just gets better and better and better. And it's unlike any other their English pop band. The way they developed is a unique development. And so Talk Talk is one that I just grew to love. And now I can't do without them. I think they're fantastic.
Okay.
So I was that way kind of with Wilco, because their first 3 albums I liked, and I kind of liked them a little better each album that came out. But it wasn't until Yankee Hotel Foxtrot that it was just like, it was an explosion in my head on how good this is.
We've got to talk about Madonna.
Oh, yeah, let's do this.
So, go ahead.
No, because
let's get Madonna out of the way here.
I never liked Madonna. I will say that when you made me watch Bedtime Stories, I was like, I really like this.
Yeah.
But, I thought she was okay, but I never really liked her. And I thought you loved her.
I know you thought I loved her, and it's interesting because I didn't.
I would have thought you'd loved her.
Yeah, I didn't love her at first, and what happened was, I had friends, especially my friend John, who really liked her first album, which had the songs "Lucky Star," "Holiday," "Borderline," and I thought they were okay, they were adequate.
Yeah.
But Rolling Stone said, I think it was a Rolling Stone review that said she sounded like Minnie Mouse on helium. And I thought that was mean, and then I laughed, and I thought that's really true. And every time I heard her music, it's like, that's Minnie Mouse on helium. And she's just, so I had a hard time identifying with her. But there was one song on that album called Burning Up. And it wasn't particularly deep or anything like that. But in that song, there was a guitar. And you could tell from that song that she was pushing herself to be the person she needed to be. And all the other songs, she was just filling in the blanks for a song that would have been a hit for anybody. And whatever it was about Burning Up, which wasn't a big hit,
right?
It's like it hung on. And I could see her. The next album was Like a Virgin. Still sounded like Minnie Mouse on helium, but the songs were deeper or more varied. So you had Like a Virgin with that little grimy kind of Rhythm, and then you had Material Girl, which, you know, the video was the Marilyn Monroe spoof, and what else? She had Dress You Up on that. So there was a lot of growth artistically in the breadth of her music, even if her voice still wasn't there. Then she was in Desperately Seeking Susan and Into the Groove. This is all before I knew you.
Right.
You know? And Into the Groove I thought was a great dance song, but again, still, you know. But True Blue in 86, that's where she really started growing. And her voice started getting better. And she started, you know, I don't think she had vocal lessons even for the first few albums.
Right.
And it just always grated on me that the voice was so unvaried and so Minnie Mouse on helium. But she started getting better. And in the 80s, the late 80s, True Blue and Like a Prayer, you know, she had songs like Open Your Heart and Express Yourself and stuff that you remember the Express Yourself video. And she was becoming something.
Yeah.
And I think the first album that came out after you and I knew each other and I was writing was Exotica in 1992.
Yeah.
And that came out and I was writing about her, and that was, I think she realized her potential. That album was a concept album, unlike all the other albums. And it was about sex, and it was blatantly about sex, and it was in conjunction with the sex photo book that she did. And that was what she was meant to do. And that album, you know, just had this continuity in it and just had a totally different vibe. And it wasn't a collection of singles. And then Bedtime Stories came after that, right? And that at that point, I was appreciating where she had gotten to in her career. It wasn't like I'd been her biggest fan the whole time.
And I thought
and that's when you and I were getting to know each other when she was hitting strike. Because then after Bedtime Stories, it was Ray of Light, and I think you even liked some of Ray of Light.
That's got some good stuff on it.
Yeah.
So William Orbit produced that.
Yeah, and those albums came out when we were getting to know each other and getting to know each other's taste in music. Since I think 2005 was her last good album, Confessions on a Dance Floor, and really nothing she's put out since then has been remarkable. You know, so that peak Madonna time was when you and I were sitting across from each other and talking about music. So that it just occurred to me when I was mapping it out. That, wait, Wayne didn't know me during this. I wasn't writing about music yet.
Yeah.
Wait, I was writing in Florida, and then this is when it started with Wayne in 1992 with Exotica.
Well, I mean, Mike Flanagan was all about the sex thing.
All about the sex book. Yeah, so Mike wanted to talk about her. He was very interested
So
in
you
her.
were talking about her
sex
all
book.
the time.
Yeah, and you were sitting there like,
Well, what was funny is the Judy Bats were signed to Sire Records.
Right.
And I went
she
out.
was on Sire Records.
Yeah, and I went out and did a story on them. And, you know, I got to know all those guys. But one of them was saying, I think it was Johnny, had talked to Seymour Stein, you know, the president of Sire Records, and they were like asking for advice. And he said something about how that they had an artist who by no means was his favorite artist.
Right. Madonna.
She worked her ass off.
She worked her ass off.
And he said, nobody works harder, and if you want to get somewhere, you got to do like she does.
Yeah, and that's what I heard in Burning Up from that first album. Was like, she's doing something. She's trying to push herself to do something.
Yeah.
She's not there yet, but she's got this in her. And then later on, like in her concerts, like years later, when she would do the song Burning Up, she would turn it into like a metal song. And people were like, what the hell is this? It's like, this is Madonna finally actualizing, you know? It's like she's manifesting in front of us. And so anyway.
Well, you know, the thing that made me not like her more was watching that documentary, because we watched the documentary, and she was just, I mean, I just thought she was so manipulative.
She was arrogant and manipulative, but let me politely ask you, you know, a lot of male artists are like that too, and I don't know if they get pounded on like she has.
Well, this was, I mean, it was the manipulation, but it was also willing to put her private life out there as that she doesn't even have one, you know.
Right.
And I thought that was just, I thought, what's left?
Right.
I mean, when I listen to an artist, I want to know there's something deeper. You know, I want to hear their lyrics and feel like there's something more to them, and that we have a connection.
I'm not even going to argue with that, because I don't think I like her as a person.
Yeah.
You know, and there are a lot of artists that I think are less talented than her that I like better as people.
Yeah.
I don't dislike her. I understand that she's just like so driven,
Right.
you know, and there are a lot of pluses that come with her minuses and everything.
Yeah.
But as a person, if she just to sit down and hang out with someone, I don't know if Madonna would be my first choice, you know.
Well, in answering your question on that, I think if a guy had done the same sort of movie, I would have disliked him as much. because it was just all the qualities.
Right.
It was like, it just seemed like she was willing to do anything, put anything about her out there for the publicity. Or
I think I understand the strategy of that. It's like
Yeah.
it's going to get out there anyway, so if you're on top of it. I think she did care for Sean Penn, her first husband.
well, this was Warren Beatty was who she
I
was.
know. I don't think she cared for him, and he didn't care for her. But she was a young woman for him to go out with, and he got her in the Dick Tracy movie, so it all worked out. It was a very transactional relationship.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time.
Well, it's amazing. You mentioned before how much the influence of just like friends saying, "Oh man, you need to like these," then that makes your decision. Because I was thinking of this is a band that took me a while to like. Back in the days when you would go to the record store and you'd spend an hour and a half or 2 hours going through the stacks. I did. Just looking at albums, and you'd work your way down the line, and you'd find one, and you'd hold it in your arm, and you'd have like 3 or 4 albums in your arm. And I was working my way one way in the alphabet, and our mutual friend Todd Steed was working his way the other way, and we got down toward the end of the alphabet, and he pulled out XTC English Settlement.
Oh boy!
And he said, "Do you have this album?" And I said, "I've never heard of them." And he said, "Put all those back and get this." And so I did, and I didn't just love it. And this brings up a principle that applies, I think, generally to me. If I hear a new artist and I just love them right off the bat and just listen to everything they have, it's going to be over in about a week and a half.
Right.
But if it takes me a while to get there,
Yeah.
they're going to be there for a while. And XTC just changed the way I think about pop songwriting and what a pop song can do. And I mean, they're probably, they're in my top 5 best favorite acts in the world.
It didn't take you time to get to know them. To get to like them, though?
It did take me a while.
It did, okay.
I mean, it took me, not a while, but I mean, It took me probably half a dozen to 10 listens before because their music is really dense. It's got lots of stuff in there, and you have to kind of, it seems chaotic when you first listen to it, and you're like, I don't get that. But then you listen enough times, and the hooks kind of unbury themselves, and then they hook in, and you're like, I can't get enough of that.
Yeah.
It was like the first that album has the song "Senses Working Overtime," which
song.
is just when it's atonal. The verses are atonal and weird, and the chords don't go together. But when it gets to that chorus, and then it just like the sun comes out from behind the clouds, and it's like harmony and melody, and you can't not tap your foot to that. And it's just so good. And XTC are masters at that. So that's a band that took me a little while to get to, but then once I got there, they're going to be with me forever.
That makes sense. I think kind of a corollary to Madonna was Lady Gaga for me, because I also didn't like her first album.
Yeah.
Well, see, with me, it was like my kids introduced me to stuff every once in a while, and my daughter, it was Lady Gaga and Eminem, Eminem was actually my oldest son, Andrew, but with Lady Gaga, it's like I despised her when I first saw stuff. I thought she's, this is just all about pretense, and, you know, it's...
Yeah, it's spectacle.
Right.
And
Wearing a dress made out of meat.
Yeah, and then I started hearing her talk, and I liked her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I started listening to her music. It's like, I really judged her wrongly. She's actually
I think it was A Star Is Born that won me over for her.
I still haven't seen that, so.
Oh, she's great.
She was great. She was great in that. And Bradley Cooper was surprising.
He was
good,
real.
too.
The movie was great.
That. Yeah. And Barbra Streisand was in the original, but
and I kind of think, sorry to interrupt, but I think Lady Gaga is doing what Madonna and David Bowie have done, is they create a persona for themselves to get attention, and it gives them, that persona is doing that thing, but I'm over here and living a normal life. And then when that one gets old, I'll just make a new one up and put that one up.
Right.
And I think that's a pretty savvy thing to do, because if you put yourself, you're exposing yourself to all kinds of criticism, and if it's just a little pretentious little cartoon out there.
I've no doubt that Lady Gaga is something else, behind
she's
all these
smart.
people. And I think Madonna is too, to an extent. She seems to put everything out there, but there's some things. I think her relationships with her children and stuff like that she keeps. She didn't want any of her children to try to be stars or anything. She was trying to inhibit that, although a lot of them have tried anyway. But
you reviewed her first album, right, Lady Gaga?
Yeah, well, the first album was The Fame, and that came out in 2008. And the first single from that was a song called Just Dance. Just vacuous as hell. I didn't give it a second thought. It took forever to get to number one. It was like 20 weeks or 30 weeks or whatever. and it was just around so long, and it just like so numbingly, the same. And then after that, she had like Poker Face and Paparazzi, and I just wasn't there. But then they reissued, and they called it the Fame Monster, and it was like the Fame plus an EP, and the EP had new songs on there, and it had Bad Romance.
Oh yeah.
And Bad Romance, the video came on. I thought, oh, what is she up to now? And I watched the video, and it starts out with that rah, 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 that kind of weird.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my God. And I just kept watching, and then the groove kicked in, and then the video kicked in, and the dancing kicked in, and I listened to what she was saying about she wants a toxic romance. She needs a toxic romance. It's like, oh my God, this is brilliant. And with the Fame Monster, then also it had Telephone, the duo that she did with Beyonce.
Right.
And so between those two songs being added to the Fame from 2 years earlier, a year earlier, whatever, it was like, boom, I get it. And every album she's put out since then, there's always a song or two that I think is amazing. A lot of songs that I think are kind of filler to me, but she connected. But it took her, that first album was... And this is the truth for just about anybody. She had a lot to learn, a lot to grow on, and now that she's more confident in everything she does, and I guess her label and all that lets her do whatever she wants, she's fully realizing herself, which I think is what Madonna did as well. And another one I've got to say, Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
You interviewed Taylor Swift when she was a country singer. You said you thought I would like her. And it was country music. So it's like, yeah, she's a teenager and she's country. And she had 3 country albums, so I wasn't even thinking about reviewing
Yeah, I was
her.
reviewing those.
So 3 albums of Taylor Swift. And then I was going to Ohio, and I was going into Cincinnati. I was driving across the I-75 or whatever, the bridge that crosses the Ohio River into Cincinnati. And I heard, this is Taylor Swift and my newest song. And it was Shake It Off.
Yeah.
And I heard Shake It Off, which I still think is one of the most brilliant pop songs of this century.
It's a great singer.
It is such a great song. Max Martin's the producer, and he put all the layers in there, and she embodies the song so well. And I just heard that. And Katie, she used to work with us. And I didn't think, she's kind of like the edgier music and everything.
Yeah.
I said, this is terrible, but I'm really hung up on this Taylor Swift song that I just heard. And she said, it's a really good song. So he's just sitting there like, what's going on here? We're crazy about this country shit. And that album was 1989, and it had Style, and it had, what was the other one on there? Oh, Blank Space. It had great songs, and I've been sold on Taylor Swift since then. But when she was country, I wasn't paying attention to her.
Right.
And she was younger then, too. And since then, it's like, wow, I really realize what a talent she is.
And she got to be a much better songwriter. I mean, it's like the first album is like okay.
Right.
And then the next one's a lot better. And then the third one, what the name of that one is now.
Red. She had Fearless, Speak Now, and Red.
Well, actually, she got tremendously better on Fearless.
Okay.
Because, Fearless
she
is...
had something before Fearless. That was 2008.
Yeah, that was just... I think it's just called Taylor Swift.
Oh, okay. All right.
And it was like... It had that song Tim McGraw on it. That was like... Because when I interviewed her that first time, just that single was out.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you got there early.
Yeah.
You're probably the only one who would talk to her at that time.
She wasn't getting a whole lot of press then.
Right.
But then when Fearless came out, it was like, no, she's solid. These, I mean, the stuff on the first album is like, these are okay songs for a teenager. They're
Like,
a
probably a
talented
young
teenager.
teenager.
How old was she when she came out with that first record?
16.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's way young.
Yeah.
So any talent that you're showing at 16 is promising.
So she was 18 when she released Fearless, I guess, probably. I think there were 2 years between it. And it was like, no, this is a really good song.
And the difference between 16 and 18 is a lot.
Pretty big.
But, I mean, you're talking about Madonna and people studying. I mean, that's what she did, obviously.
Right.
She really paid attention.
Right. And then I'll just finish this off, is that Miley Cyrus was a Disney singer.
Yep.
She was on Hannah Montana. We didn't care about Hannah Montana. But by design, we weren't supposed to be Miley Cyrus fans. And so many other people have come from Disney: Britney Spears, Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato, Justin Timberlake, Jonas Brothers, Christina Aguilera, Olivia Rodrigo, Ariana Grande. I mean, it's like Sabrina Carpenter's had like 10 albums, but you could have fooled me until Espresso came out last summer, And Miley Cyrus was the same way. She was Hannah Montana as a teenager. She played Hannah Montana from 2006 to 2011. And then she had a breakout when she was 18, I think. And it was her first album away from Disney, and it flopped. And, who cares? And it was because she was still trying to be Hannah Montana.
Yeah.
I guess that was because she was so successful. And then the Can't Be Tamed, that's when she was 18, Can't Be Tamed. Again, it was her last for Hollywood Records, and she was still that, whatever. But then Bangers came out in 2013. She was 21 years old, and the whole thing was about sex and drugs, and everything was different. And that's when I realized, oh my God, she's an amazing singer, And since then, I've just seen her just like Lady Gaga and like Madonna. She just segued from persona to persona, and she's got this powerful voice and all that Disney stuff. It's taken her that long to get past it. Yeah. It was a great launching pad for her, but then it was like in her way, so she had to work past it.
She handled that transition about as well as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
And mad respect for that.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, I interviewed her dad because her dad
Billy
had
Ray Cyrus,
the huge hit with "Achy Breaky Heart."
Yeah.
Which everybody was trashing, and it's a mediocre song, but it was a big deal. And then she comes out, she's on Disney, and Dolly becomes her godmother, and the whole thing.
Oh yeah, Dolly Parton's Miley's godmother, yeah.
And you just think, oh well, she's just in a position where she can do this. You don't think she's got much talent. I didn't really appreciate her until I heard her do a song. It was Jolene. She did acoustically.
She did do Jolene, yeah.
And I just thought, damn.
Where'd that voice come from?
Really? Because you didn't hear it on this other stuff.
And Hannah Montana, she was this heavy pop processed voice, and she was a teenager on a teen show.
Yeah.
And but then she comes out with her own voice. It's holy cow. It's an amazing voice.
Well, the same thing was for me with Taylor Swift. I never listened to Taylor Swift. I just think it's not music that's in my wheelhouse. It's not made for me. But then I'm an addict to Tiny Desk concert, and she was on Tiny Desk, and it was her and a piano and an acoustic guitar. And she said, I just wanted to play you some of my songs the way I originally wrote them. And I just was like floored.
She's a different kind of genius. I mean, because she's such an amazing songwriter. Mm-hmm. Her voice is good, but it's not like the best thing about her. But her construction, her just knowledge of the whole way everything comes together is just exemplary. And
Well, sometimes I just think stripping things down, and that's Bruce Springsteen, Nebraska, was really the first time I ever really gave Bruce Springsteen a serious listen. And that's an outlier album for him. I mean, he's not done anything much like that.
When was Nebraska out? Because I heard people tell me about that. And
it was in the 80s, early 80s?
It was early 80s. I'm trying to think.
It was recorded on a cassette 4-track,
Yeah.
which they didn't come out until the early mid-80s.
I guess that's the one that came. I think it came out right
84
after.
was Born in the USA.
Yeah, it's between there. I think it came out after Darkness at the Edge of Town.
But before?
No, The River. It came out after The River.
Okay.
But, I mean, I still like Bruce Springsteen's more acoustic stuff better. The Ghost of Tom Joad's a real good album. Devils and
I wouldn't
Dust.
know him if it's not for Rick Springfield. And that was the joke of the song.
Well, and I think again, coming back to the idea of stripping things down, made me much more interested in Tom Petty when Wildflowers came out.
Yeah, well, that's his best album.
Yeah, and because it's all stripped down and it's real plain spoken, and it just...
And, the guy behind all the stripping down stuff, to some extent, is Rick Rubin. And he, Johnny Cash was on his last legs, basically. Nobody gave a shit about Johnny Cash at that time. And I interviewed him around that time, and it was pitiful.
And he was playing,
the water park up in Pigeon Forge.
His career was in the dump.
It was. And then Rick Rubin comes along and convinces him to do nothing but just, sing
metal songs and
metal
Nine
songs,
Inch Nails.
acoustic.
Yeah, but do them your own way.
Right. And a whole generation picked up on the authenticity of this guy, and it was great.
And Johnny Cash didn't even understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, when he played, he said, here's the song I want you to do. You can listen to it, but I don't want you to do it to sound like that. Just read the lyrics. Think about the lyrics.
Yeah.
And do it your own way.
Yeah.
And some of it is just haunting.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
I mean, Hurt is just...
Yeah, Hurt's amazing.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I'm ready for recommendations if you guys are.
I think I am, too. I don't have anybody else that was just like... a big
I
come
could
around
talk
for
more
me.
about Sabrina Carpenter. Or
Let's
we can
not.
move on to that.
Let's move on.
We'll move on to recommendations then.
I always that video starts to come up, and I see her butt, and I think I'm going to watch this. And then I hear it, and I'm like, no, I'm not.
Oh,
She's cute.
So you'll regret it someday.
Yeah, maybe I'll come around to Sabrina Carpenter.
Well,
I'll be.
no, she's got a new one coming out. So
Oh,
I'm sure you've seen the controversy about the artwork.
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about it later.
I'll have to go look it up.
Just recommend something.
Okay, well, I'm going to recommend because I mentioned them. I'm going to recommend that people check out a Mott the Hoople retrospective. One of them is just called The Ballad of Mott, a retrospective. Another one, which has one disc of Ian Hunter's solo stuff, in addition to Mott the Hoople stuff, is called Old Records Never Die. And their band that they were about. Mick Ralphs, who was the original guitar player, just died. He co-founded Bad Company, which I did not like nearly so much as Mott the Hoople. Their first album was okay, but boy, I hated a lot of Bad Company stuff. But his stuff with Mott the Hoople is wonderful. And even after he left, Mott the Hoople were a great, great band. And like I said, you might not like Ian Hunter's voice right off the bat, like I didn't like it right off the bat, and then it becomes something you get addicted to. I think they're great. Rock and Roll Queen, one of their first songs is just a blast of just pure energy. And then they get they always stay with good solid rock and roll, but the lyrics get deeper as it goes along. And then Ian Hunter, people remember him a lot of times for the song Cleveland Rocks, which was a theme song to Drew Carey Show. Yeah. So people know him from that, and it's good stuff all the way around. David Bowie, when they were about to break up, he wrote all their young dudes for them because he loved them so much, he wanted them to keep going. So he produced that album, wrote that song, gave them their first big hit.
All right.
If we're doing music,
Yeah.
I just happened. This is one of those random things where I just like it. On Apple Music, you can just like John Baker's Radio, and you hit that, and
Right.
it's based on your algorithm and all that, and mostly it's stuff you've listened to recently. But about every third or fourth thing, they'll throw some new thing into that I've never heard of, and what they served up was a UK band called Squid, and they have released 3 albums. Their first album came out in 2021, and they're on Warp Records, which is a pretty heavy hitter in terms of British dance music. Squid is not really dance music. You can dance to it. They've got a really great drummer, and I think that's one of the best features of the band. But they've just put out a new record called Cowards. It came out in 2025, called Squid Cowards, and it's really interesting. They will set up an intricate little groove and then just stop and do something completely different, and then come back to the groove they had before, but modify. I mean, it's like it's psychedelic kind of. It's just in the way that they put their songs together. I don't know. Give them a shot.
All right. Well, I got to go back to Exotica for Madonna. I can't talk about it without getting a little more detail. It came out October 20th, 1992. She had been building her career up to the point where she could do a concept album and sort of take a chance, because this was a chance. It was recorded with Shep Pettibone and Andre Betts. It incorporates something hip-hop and house music and jazz and techno. Not the kind of stuff you hate, though, Wayne. It's
Okay.
but it's very much kind of got this funky sort of meditative sort of sex to it. And it's got a lot of songs, Deeper and Deeper. Exotica, of course, the title track, Bad Girl. That's anyway, Rain, Fever, the Peggy Lee song. And it just like song after song, they just flow into each other. And it is a concept album. It was actually preceded by the single Justify My Love, which was a heavy sex song that she did to go with the Immaculate Collection. So she had a greatest hits compilation coming up. She recorded Justify My Love, and then she switched over to Exotica and just put it all into this sex album. And it's really rewarding. I mean, because it is an album you can listen to beginning to end, and I don't like to do that very often. And it's more rewarding than these, pastiche type albums where every song's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
It was also not very successful. I think it peaked at number 2. I don't think it even went to number 1. But like I say, it was more rewarding, and it was just something she was meant to do. And then she moved on to the bedtime stories and all that
Right.
other stuff, Ray of Light. But it was a great moment, and it was a little divisive. And at first, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't think I like this. And then I listened to it again, and it's like, oh my God, I can be seduced into this album and just sit and listen to it every time.
Huh.
And I don't say that very often.
Cool.
You got a movie.
Well, I actually have a TV show, which is,
Okay.
a lot of people are watching it just like I am. The 3rd season of The Bear.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of those things, it took me, I think, at least 2 episodes, maybe 3 episodes of the 1st season to get into it because everybody's yelling at the top of their lungs.
It's intense.
It's like it makes you a nervous wreck. And then as it goes on, it starts expanding. And this new season is very, very much expanding on the characters. And you're getting to know them better. And that's like most great TV shows, the action is not as important as getting to know these people and spending time with them. Mm-hmm. And all these characters, there's not a character on here that I don't like. And the last, I think the last episode I watched was episode 7 or 8 into this new season.
Okay.
And it had to
Can
do
you
with
explain? It's a restaurant.
Yeah, it's a restaurant. A guy who studied to be a chef and worked at some of the greatest restaurants in the world has come back to his home in Chicago with his dysfunctional family because his brother died, and they turned his sandwich shop into a really high-class restaurant.
Okay.
And all the people who work there are having to transition to this fancy restaurant, and it's all a big learning curve.
Okay.
But everybody in it is somebody that you kind of get to like. The characters are really getting fleshed out. Mm-hmm. And I love watching a show where I care about people.
Is this on Hulu?
It's on Hulu and
Okay.
FX.
And it's fun to watch food lovingly prepared.
It is, and man, you get hungry watching it sometimes because you'll see a shot of this dish and you're just like, damn.
The guy that plays Richie,
Yeah.
man, I think he's fantastic.
I can't think of the actor's name, but he is like the soul of it. He's not.
It's pretty intense, right? I mean, all the characters are pretty.
Yeah.
Oh, it
edgy.
gets real intense.
But there's comedy too.
Yeah, but Jamie Lee Curtis has a role
Oh,
as
my
the
God.
mom of the family. Oh, wow. I mean, this is probably the best thing she's ever done as far as acting. And she's believable, and you just think, God, I hope I never run into somebody like that in my life.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there have been several times Leslie and I have watched The Bear, and the show's ended, and I'm like, that's some of the best television I've ever seen.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like, I can't
amazing.
believe how good that was.
Yeah, and it's all about just people trying to make a restaurant work, and it's kind of surprising because it's a fairly small thing to hang a show on, but it's about the characters. Mm-hmm. And Oliver
everybody
Platt,
goes to restaurants.
yeah, Oliver Platt's in it.
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah, Bob Odenkirk plays he's come back a couple of times. He's a character in it. It's all sorts of different guests that you don't expect.
I think it's gotten a lot of awards, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
If it hasn't, it should.
Yeah, it's gotten nominated. I think it's gotten actual awards, but it's always nominated for stuff. It's really, really good.
Well, when we're taping this, it's early July, and July for me means a month of watching bicycle racing in the Tour de France. And I know not everybody gets that. I'm a cyclist, and I really do get it. And I've ridden some of the places where the race goes over. But if you wanted, it's always, the Tour de France is such a good story. It's every day there's some new little wrinkle and a new little development, and you kind of start to know some of the riders, and there's like heroes and there's villains, and it's a great story. And if you want a sort of a primer to understanding it, Netflix has run a series called Tour de France Unchained. It's a documentary series. The current season that's on is documenting last year's Tour de France. But it goes behind the scenes and interviews a lot of the riders and their backgrounds and the teams and their backgrounds and how that team trains and how this team trains. And the fascinating thing about the Tour de France is that each team has 9 riders on it. And there's all kinds of different kinds of, each day is a stage. There's 21 stages. And each stage is different. And so like there'll be a flat stage, and the people that are going to win the flat stage are the big fat muscle, not fat,
Right.
but big muscly sprinters.
Right.
But sprinters can't get over the mountains. And the tour always goes through the Pyrenees and the Alps. Usually they'll do the Pyrenees, then the Alps, or they'll do the Alps, then the Pyrenees. They change direction every year. But that's when the heartbreak happens, is when they get into the mountains. Right. And so anyway, so Tour de France Unchained documentary series on Netflix is a really good primer to sort of understanding how it's a team sport and how it works. So that's my recommendation.
Cool.
Awesome. This one I meant to see when it was in theaters, but then I didn't end up seeing it, but now it's on HBO, and that's Sinners.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you've heard about this one.
I plan on watching this.
Very interesting. Well, it's on HBO now, and it's directed by Ryan Coogler, who directed Creed and Black Panther. It stars Michael P. Jordan as twins. He plays Smoke and Stack Moore. I know it's kind of weird, and I had a little problems with one guy playing these two characters, but they're like World War I vets in 1932. And there's a whole lot of setup here that's just, you feel like it's a movie about blues because they're setting up a juke joint, and they're in Clarksdale, Mississippi. And like I said, it's like 32, and they're trying to start up this club for the black community, and they round up artists, and there's so much blues music like all the way through it, and you get a lot of character development, and there's great scenery and all that. I think it may have been filmed in Louisiana, but Louisiana, Mississippi, you know.
What's the difference?
What's the difference? Don't tell them I said that. Yeah. But that about an hour into it, it becomes a very different movie. And I'm not giving anything away, but it suddenly becomes a vampire movie. Yeah. And I know. And the cool thing about it is, like, the juke joint, not cool, well, you know, it's this bonded community that's there in this club, and of all things, an Irish immigrant is like a Klansman singer, and so he's a musician, and he gets these this white couple who are like this Americana duo, and he turns them into vampires. So you get these three vampires. They want to get in the club. And the people in the club, there's also this weird mythology about people who are particularly gifted musicians have sort of a supernatural power. There's just so much going on. But it's great character development at the end of the day, and a very, very it's an hour in before it turns into a vampire movie, really. But you've got so much invested in all these characters at that point. They're not just, you know, like, well, whatever, I don't care what happens to everybody, even the vampires, you know, you've got some feeling toward them. But it's a very rewarding movie. It has a little bit of that dialogue that's too
clever.
You know, I don't like that. I'm the only person, I think, but when dialogue gets too well done, then I'm just feeling like, this doesn't feel real.
I'm being manipulated.
I feel the same thing. I was talking about that to a friend of mine today.
Yeah. But that's a very minor point, and it's a good movie, and it's got an interesting perspective. And I guess the question is, you know, are those mean white vampires going to bother those nice, you know, people of color? And it's pretty good. Yeah, a definite winner, and it was a big hit at the box office.
Well, I watched the previews, and I thought, man, this could either be great or terrible.
I think it was pretty great.
Cool. Well, I mean, I'd heard so many things that people said after the fact, after it left the theater, that I thought, damn, I wish I'd seen it. So it's on HBO now, so I'll watch it.
Yeah, I kept thinking, I got to see this. And then, you know, I couldn't go to the movies, or I would end up at something else instead, and all of a sudden it was gone. Yeah. And it was in theaters for long enough for me to see it there. But don't miss it on HBO. I mean, it'll be around for a while. Cool. It's probably one of the biggest hits of the year. It's one of the top 10 movies of the year. So
it was one of those things that people were saying it was a financial disappointment right off the bat, and it's like, well, you know, give it a little time.
Yeah. Well, it found its ground, and it's just, you know, it's a good music movie, and a good period piece movie, and a good vampire movie.
Well, I mean, that's where Robert Johnson was. Clarksdale, Mississippi, where he made the deal with the devil, supposedly, at the crossroads. So perfect location for all this to happen.
Yep.
I think I saw a meme the other day. It was like, I sold my soul to the devil, and I still can't play guitar.
But this accordion, by God.
Just beat me on the accordion if you can.
Well.
All right. Okay. Well, fun topic.
It was a fun topic.
Yeah,
all over the map, but I think it all made sense in the end. And,
and we also covered the whole history of the Beach Boys. So,
the whole history of the Beach Boys, yeah.
For you folks out in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We didn't mention the Charles Manson connections and all that stuff. But anyway.
No, we'll do that next time.
Okay.
Go see Love and Mercy.
Oh, yeah. That's a
It's
great
a good sort of. It's not really a documentary. It's a remake.
No, it's a dramatization. Oh, what I mean, are we talking about?
Yeah, with John Cusack.
Yeah, John Cusack was great.
And
Paul Dano.
Paul Dano. Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
All right. Goodbye.
Send us an email.
Yes, send us an email to howweheardit@gmail.com.
That's how we got this topic.
Yes, today's topic
That's
was
true.
a suggestion. So,
And also, this is our 60th episode.
This is episode 60, yes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Getting there. I don't know where we're going, but we're getting there.
Well, we're going somewhere.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
You've been listening to How We Heard It with Chuck Campbell and Wayne Bledsoe, a podcast about music, movies, art, culture, whatever it is that's on their mind. How We Heard It was recorded at the Arbor Studio in Knoxville, Tennessee by me, John Baker. How We Heard It is a Cozy Planet production. If listening to this podcast has given you a burning sensation, then we recommend you sit in a hot tub until your symptoms fade away. If you'd like to reach out to Chuck or Wayne or even me, you can send an email to howweheardit@gmail.com. So thank you for listening, and come on back and we'll have another episode for you next week.